As we begin this Lenten season, what are you going to do to grow closer to God? We'll talk about that tonight, so please stay with us. Thank you very much and welcome. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa. Welcome to EWTN Live, where we bring you guests from all over the world. I want to mention, first of all, that today is Ash Wednesday. It's the first time since 1945 that Ash Wednesday has fallen on Valentine's Day. And, of course, they probably didn't have much chocolate to go around because that was still when the war was going on. But today, you still have to abstain from meat and you still have to fast. So one big meal and two smaller ones. Some people celebrated Valentine's on the weekend. That would have been easier. Also, before we get started, I want to mention too that we invite all of you to please pray for those families who are suffering horribly with the loss of their loved ones, mostly high school students at the shooting over at the high school today, this afternoon. Please very much keep all those people in your prayers, and you know, you want to pray for the perpetrator too. He's going to need a lot of prayer, whatever's going on with him. Well, we all, of course, we're starting Lent today. And Mardi Gras was last night, and that's all done. And some people are taking this time to give up some chocolate or some other small sacrifice for the Lenten penance. But our guest tonight is here to help us get the most out of this Lent from a different perspective. She is a self-proclaimed pack rat who has caused herself to explore the relationship between all the stuff that we have and our beliefs about grace, sin, repentance, and prayer. And the result is a very entertaining and biblical approach to decluttering, discipleship, and spiritual growth. So please welcome the author of Making Room for God, Decluttering, and the Spiritual Life, Mary Elizabeth Sperry. Mary Elizabeth, welcome. You come down here to visit us here in Alabama. From where? Where do you live?
I live just outside Washington, D.C.
Good for you. And tell us more. I gave them a little clue about why you wrote this book. What is it that got you to write about this decluttering and the spiritual life?
A few years ago, I just got absolutely tired of the clutter in my life. The final straw was when I realized I could no longer comb my hair in my bedroom mirror because there was so much stuff on the dresser, I couldn't actually see myself in the mirror. I had to go into the bathroom to comb my hair.
Well, at least you could see the other side of the stuff reflected in the mirror.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It was piled pretty high.
Oh, I
and
see.
Pretty deep.
Yeah.
So I said, this has to stop. And I took everything off the dresser and I sorted it into piles. And I started to realize, how did I ever get so much stuff? And why are there paper clips on my dresser? Why is there a teaspoon on my dresser? I don't believe my dresser ever eats pudding, so why was there a spoon there? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I had all these stacks of things that I didn't even remember I had. Things up there that were essentially garbage. Remember those AOL discs that they used to send you in the mail?
Yeah, a long time ago.
6 of them.
6
of them.
Did you keep them as museum pieces or send them to a computer museum?
No, I actually just let those go by the wayside. But I found bottles of unopened shampoo and things like that, toothpaste, that I was able to take and donate to a homeless shelter because I had a lifetime supply of toothpaste. I found, I believe it was 15 containers of dental floss. I would need a lot more teeth.
Yeah.
I would need more. Actually, I sent all of those to a nun friend of mine, and now all the sisters have lovely teeth.
Good. There you go. Well, it's nice that you share, and that's one of the themes of your book, is that your decluttering is not merely about throwing away, but it's also about sharing all this extra stuff with those who don't have extra stuff. In fact, I really liked the point you made early in the book about people who have clutter have it because they have so much.
Exactly.
This is not a problem in most of, say, Sahara Africa. People who don't have nearly enough. Tell us more about some of that.
It's really a new problem. It's not even really 100 years old yet that we are dealing with too much. Because even if you look at things like, say, the late Middle Ages, early Renaissance, as the middle class was really developing in Europe, we have some inventories of houses of very prosperous people, the up-and-comers in their society. And the entire inventory of their house could be written on one sheet of paper because they just didn't have that much, even though they had more than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you couldn't inventory one room in most people's houses on one sheet of paper. When I was growing up, it was very rare for a child to have a room of their own. Right. Usually if you were the youngest, you eventually got a room of your own when everybody else got married and moved out.
Yeah.
But you didn't have a room of your own until then, let alone having with a television and a computer and all sorts of other things. That was just unusual. In my grade school, one of my classmates, the kids in her family had their own phone. She was the coolest person in school because the kids had their own phone. The real reason is that their dad was a lawyer and he got calls for work at home. And with 4 teenagers, he knew he needed to have his own phone or he'd never get phone calls.
Yeah, right.
And now you look and kids have a ton of stuff. They all have their own room. They have a ton of stuff. It's a big deal at colleges that when they go to college, it's the first time many kids have shared a room. And they have to learn how to negotiate it. So this abundance has actually caused problems, different than the problem of scarcity, but it's its own problem.
And you mentioned that it's such an issue that there's an industry of storage units that people rent to put the stuff they have no more room for. They have to put it in storage, that they rent something extra.
Exactly. The self-storage industry actually makes more money every year than the Hollywood movie industry. Think about that. And the big thing now is climate-controlled storage that's extra safe, so that keeps your electronics at the right temperature so you won't have problems with it. Because if electronics get too hot, things will melt.
That's right.
And they'll malfunction. So think about this. We're letting our extra stuff, in some cases our garbage, live in better conditions than a significant portion of the world's population.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I talk in the book about the storage shed that my parents had, and that I knew I had stuff in it, and I made the bet that if you offered me $1 million, I couldn't tell you 10 things I had there. Well, my mother unfortunately passed away this summer, and we cleaned out her storage shed, actually shortly before she died. And we brought everything up, and you would have taken your $1 million home, because I'm opening boxes and going, I didn't remember I had this. I didn't remember this was there. Mom, do you know what this was? It had been there for so long, we didn't know what it was. Now, there were also some treasures there. Mm-hmm. But the treasures were hidden in amidst all the garbage. And that's why I think a lot of people are afraid of decluttering, because they think it means they're going to have to give away their treasures, things that are precious to them, things that carry memory. And that's actually not what it is. I think of decluttering as more like the work a sculptor does when he gets a block of marble. Mm-hmm. you chip away the extra so you can reveal the beauty within. If you've got so much stuff that you can't find what's meaningful to you, you're not seeing that beauty. You've got to chip away the extras, what you don't care about, what you don't need, what you don't use, so that you can focus with gratitude and with memory and with value on those things you do care about.
I think that's an important element. And, it's easy for us to simply acquire things that there might be certain memories associated with that we don't want to let go, because it's not just memories of a good time, but memories of someone. And these are triggers. You mentioned that in your book. You have things that were just important triggers of remembering the loving things your parents did and so on. So you've got that, and you want to distinguish that from simply, look, there was a 2-for-1 sale, so I bought 2. I only ever used 1, but I bought 2.
Exactly, and sales are designed to get us to buy more. There's an entire advertising industry that exists to make us buy things, make us think we need them, and then buy them and buy more of them. Mm-hmm. So we have to fight that current. But no, you don't have to get rid of things that are precious, that are memories. But if they're hidden away in an attic or in a basement or in a storage shed and you never see them, are you treasuring the memory? Mm-hmm. Now, memory is important, especially to us as Catholics. We value memory. Mm-hmm. I mean, part of the Eucharistic prayer is the anamnesis, literally the not forgetting. Mm-hmm. Memory is important to who we are. But if we can't actually hold that memory, and if we clutter it up with a lot of other things so that we can't see it anymore, mm-hmm. we're not going to value that memory. It's as good as gone.
Right. And I think that that's one element. And also, I mean, I've known people who say, well, if I don't keep this, then what happens if I would run out? Or if I give this to you, then what'll happen when I need it? So there's sometimes a forgetfulness that if you do run out, oftentimes you can just go back to the store if you need it.
That's my soft spot. You hit right there on that soft spot. I hold on to things because I might need it someday. And really, to me, I've had to examine my own relationship with my things as I've sorted it all out. And I realized that the reason I hold on to things, because I might need them someday, I really don't trust in the providence of God.
Talk more about that, because you developed that nicely in the book, that this issue of the providence of God. What are you talking about with the providence of God?
Yeah. That's something that people don't talk about anymore, but the sense that God will provide all that we need. That is one of those foundational, fundamental scriptural promises, that God knows what we need before we need it and will provide all that we need. Mm-hmm. And we don't trust that. We think we have to take care of ourselves, mm-hmm. and that we can't let go and let God provide for us, and that it will be there when we need it. And if it's not there when we need it, maybe that's not what we needed. I know I personally have an issue with using my possessions as almost a blanket fort. The adult version of a blanket fort.
What do you mean by blanket fort?
I use it to keep other people out. You know how when you're a kid, you build the blanket fort and only your friends are allowed in your fort. Mm-hmm. The other people have to stay outside. And so it's my blanket fort. It lets me keep other people at a distance so I don't have to depend on them. Mm-hmm. If I don't have 3 bags of flour the day I'm baking, I might have to go and ask my neighbor if I can borrow a cup. Oh dear, how terrible would that be? She has flour, she'll let me use it, it's not a problem. Or there's a store just down the street, but you don't want to have to go outside yourself. You don't want to have to ask for help. We have a strong belief that we're supposed to be completely self-reliant, mm-hmm. that we're not supposed to rely on anybody. Mm-hmm. And that can bleed over. Well, it's good to be independent and to take care of yourself. That can bleed over into believing you don't need God. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens to me sometimes. And that's why I've acquired so much, so that I won't ever have to ask anybody for help.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we look at the prayer that Jesus taught us, it includes, give us this day our daily bread. It doesn't say, give us a year's supply, give us a month's supply, give us a week's supply of bread. Because especially in the ancient world, bread didn't last a week. You know, they didn't have ways to preserve it and stuff that we do. So it was daily bread made fresh every day. And that's what the Lord tells us. That's part of, I think, this issue of trusting in God's providence. He doesn't want us to say, well, give me the lottery so I don't have to worry about money for the rest of my life. No, give me my daily bread, what I need for each day.
Exactly, and that's a wonderful story in the Old Testament of the manna, where people would collect what they needed for one day. And if they collected too much, it would have gone bad the next morning. So they would have to go collect it again. It was only the day before the Sabbath that they could collect enough for 2 days.
Right.
So they didn't have to go out on the Sabbath and work.
Right, right. And one of the other important elements as you develop this in your book is that you connect decluttering with your spiritual life, partly by showing the way the vices, the capital sins come into play. Talk a little bit about that as well.
For me, the decluttering process was really an extended examination of conscience. Because as you pile things up, and that's one of the great things about decluttering, a great piece of advice you get, is to get all of a certain thing and put it on a pile in the middle of the room and declutter that whole pile at one time. So all of your clothes, all of your books, not just the books on this room or the clothes in this drawer, but all of it. And when you pile it up and start going through it, you look at things and you're like, where did I get that? Why did I buy it? Why don't I use it? And you have to start asking that question that really leads to an examination of conscience. Why did I buy this? Oh yeah, I was out shopping with so-and-so and she was buying everything and I felt bad because I wasn't buying things too, and I didn't want her to think, I didn't want her to think less of me that I didn't buy something. So I bought this even though I didn't really need it, and I threw it in the back of my closet. Or, well, so-and-so bought one of these and I really wanted it too because I was jealous of what she had, so I bought 2 of them. So now I'm better. Or if I had one of these, I thought, well, you get 1, you can take 4. 4 is better than 1, right? It's greed. So envy and greed and pride.
Yeah, and you define envy. Envy is wanting what somebody else has that you don't.
Exactly.
Without really focusing on what do I need? How does having what somebody else has help me? Is this something I need?
And it's a lot harder nowadays because think 300 years ago, your world was probably the village you lived in. You would know a handful of people, and there might be 1 or 2 rich people in your community who would have a lot of stuff. But it wouldn't be a lot, and you probably wouldn't have a whole lot of interaction with them. Now, with social media, everybody is sending out, Instagramming their dinner or the new outfit they bought or their new car or whatever it is, and you're just bombarded with, on social media, regular media, more and more stuff. And it really can arouse envy. I mean, I've had times where I've had to just fast forward through commercials because it makes me envious. And so if I realize that's happening, I'll put a show on DVR and I'll fast forward through the commercials so I won't be tempted. Or having magazines, canceling subscriptions, or
catalogs. A lot of
catalogs.
times people send catalogs not only through snail mail, but they send them now on the internet. And so you get, the big sales. It can be a temptation just to keep looking through the sales, even though you don't need any of it.
I get an average of 25 marketing emails every single day. Every single day. And I've had to train myself to not open them unless there's something specific that I need. If it turns out, the heel broke off of my snow boots, I need new snow boots, then I can look at those ads because I need to buy new snow boots.
Sure.
And Washington, D.C. hasn't had any snow this year, so I don't need snow boots this year. So all of those go right into the discard bin.
And there's something in addition that this requires us to be reflective about the things I truly need, and what does that need mean, and how do I distinguish that from perhaps something that comes out of vice? You know, that's part of this examination of conscience. Things that we truly need are certainly things that are acceptable, of course, but you know, things that we don't need, you know, that's something where we can say, well, I can move on without that just fine, maybe even better without it.
It's a process. It really is. And that's why it's so appropriate for Lent, because it's really about conversion. It's about changing the way you live in the world and conforming, disciplining your will so that you can conform your will to Christ. And I find I'm getting a little bit better, not in a linear way, but I find I can walk through a store and say, oh, isn't that pretty? But I don't need it, and walk past it. I finally, just last week, canceled a subscription to a magazine that I really don't need anymore. And I've discovered with books, I mean, I love books. I love books. And I have a lot of them. And some of them are very hard to let go of. And so I've learned that some books, I keep them on a special shelf, and I reread them every so often. And if when I get to the end of the book, I say, I love this book, I need to keep it, I do. And it goes back on the special shelf. But sometimes, after a couple of years have gone by of doing that, you're like, you know, I think I'm done with this book now. And then I can let it go. And it's that continual letting go of things and growing in detachment. And that's really, Lent is about that, learning that detachment and that conversion and disciplining your own will.
And I think learning alternate ways to do things that are good for us. For instance, with books, there's certainly the library. I use the public library often. And there's also the internet. A lot of for me, the modern age starts roughly around 200 AD. I like older books, but a lot of those are online, and I can just download those and read them on my computer without having to get more clutter. There are ways that we can look to avoid the clutter of life while still accomplishing some of the tasks that we need to do.
All the librarians at my local library know me by first name.
Sure.
I spend a lot of time up there. But there are some books you know you're going to refer to time and time again, and you want to have them on your shelf. And that's fine. It's really about changing your relationship with the things that you own so that it's what the church calls detachment. That you use things, but you're not owned by them. And you can let go of them. I think that's one of the things that you always want to look at, is if you find it horrifying, that the idea that you might lose a possession, if that terrifies you, that's probably a sign that you're too attached. And there are things, yes, you'd be very sad to lose the memory. You're afraid you'd lose the memory, or, you know, it's the plate your grandmother gave you because it's what she always put the turkey on at Thanksgiving, and now you use it. And yes, it would be very sad to lose that. On the other hand, passing it on to your niece would be lovely because it would continue the tradition. That's kind of a detachment, to be able to let go of things, pass them on to someone whose need is greater. And that's part of the almsgiving of Lent. This need that we have more than we need. God provides for our needs. So from our excess and even from our limited, what we have that meets our needs, to give to those whose need is greater, to let go of things and to pass them on.
Well, you even describe one lady who would, you know, has so much clutter that she gives away 1 bag of stuff a day during Lent.
This was all over my Facebook feed today with Ash Wednesday. There is a 40 bags in 40 days. It's an internet movement where this woman sends out an email every day, and she has a little calendar and everything. And she encouraged you to give away 40 bags in 40 days as you declutter. And I, of course, clicked on it because I like to read about decluttering. I wrote a whole book about it.
Sure.
And she says she's been doing this every year for 8 years. And all I could think of was, you've been giving away 40 bags of stuff every year for 8 years? First of all, how big a house do you live in? Is it like the size of Windsor Castle that you have that room for that much stuff? I mean, 40 bags of stuff over 8 years would be more than would fit in my house.
Yeah.
There would be no room for me in my house.
Yeah.
But if you're acquiring that much stuff every year that you can keep giving that away, then it's time to start looking at the disease, not the symptoms. And that's where looking at those vices, envy and greed and gluttony and sloth. Sloth is a big one.
Yes, talk about sloth, because a lot of people don't think much about sloth.
Sloth is the reason I found 7 can openers in my house.
Yeah.
No one
A
person
lot of
needs.
cans, huh?
No, actually, I've used very few cans, why did I have 7 can openers? Because I couldn't find one, so I'd go and buy a new one. And I didn't want to bother digging to find one, so I would go buy a new one. And eventually you have 7. And then you open your drawer and you can't find anything else. I mean, I love mashed potatoes. I did not eat mashed potatoes for 3 months because I could not find my potato masher. And I decided I was not going to go out and buy a new one of those. It was hidden underneath all the can openers.
Yeah.
So I finally got rid of the can openers, and now I can have mashed potatoes again.
And the sloth is a certain form of laziness or inertia, just not doing anything, not taking the effort to look, say, for one. It's much faster just to go buy another one and add to the clutter. That's the way in which laziness or sloth can help that clutter increase in our lives.
There are 2 other ways that I find, at least they happen to me, they might happen to other people too. One is that you will decide you're going to clean up, and you'll put everything in nice little boxes and put it away. You have no idea what's in any box. And you will never start digging through all those boxes. Once it's in a box and it's out of sight, it's gone. You're just going to keep adding boxes, and that's how people's attics get full.
Or
Because-
sometimes even their living rooms.
Gross.
I've known that there's some people who it becomes a disorder where they have a path through their house with all the stuff piled up, and it's just piles of magazines, who knows what. It's just piles and piles.
People, you'll decide to organize everything. You'll buy the nice little storage containers, and you'll pile stuff in them, and you'll push them aside or put them under the bed or put them in the attic, and you'll never open them again. That's not decluttering. That's just organizing your clutter. It's a completely different thing. You just put a nice bow on your clutter and put it away.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens is you don't finish a task. You do your laundry, but you don't fold the clothes and put them away. You load the dishwasher, but you never unload the dishwasher and put the dishes away. And then it just becomes a snowball. The clothes are sitting on the couch, so it's no big deal to throw your coat there or your bag or whatever it is. And the clutter it sort of starts to attract itself.
Yeah.
I don't feel, I looked at the mail, I don't feel like dealing with the bills today. So you leave it there in a pile, and the next thing you know, you've got 5 days worth of mail sitting there, and you can't find the bill that you need to pay.
It happens, yeah. No, and you had not even been in my house.
Everyone I talk to about this says, how long have you had a camera in my house? Because we all do it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I'm such a unique person, that all the things I'm talking about are things that I've done, that I've struggled with. And I can't believe I'm the only one.
Well, you're probably not, and we're going to see. We want to let people know there is a website you can go to, MaryElizabethSperry.com. And her book is Making Room for God, Decluttering and the Spiritual Life by Mary Elizabeth Sperry. You can get it from EWTN Religious Catalog. It's item 7970. And you just have to go to EWTNRC.com or 1-800-854-6316. And we'll see how this affects the Lent of a lot of our viewers, because it really is, it's very readable, very clear, it's entertaining in the way you write, and it's a very useful book as a very distinctive way to go through Lent and reconsider things. We need to take a little break. We want to come back. Maybe you have some questions or comments to make. So please stay with us and call in with them. Thank you very much, and welcome back. And we are ready to start taking some of your phone calls, and as well as questions from our studio audience. So we'll start off with Angie. Angie, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New Jersey.
Great, thank you. And what is your question?
I don't have a question. I wanted to share a comment. I think that it's very difficult when we as Catholics identify everything as a vice or look at it from only one angle. As an educator and someone who's in ministry, I've worked with a lot of people who have had trouble with clutter, and they have been judged and they've been looked down upon, and they had vision disabilities. They had brain processing issues that you and I, by the grace of God, don't suffer. And what you and I could get through in a week, they're not special needs people. They're everyday people.
Yeah.
That when we fight to try to get to the bottom of something and try to help them in their problems, you know, sometimes people are divorcing and they're having a difficulty, they're caring for a parent. And I think, you know, if we could just remember the compassion of Christ as we prepare for the season, and the concept of if we walk in and they're doing dishes, to dry them and help them put it away. If we go in and they are washing the clothes and they don't get to fold them because they have to tend to someone else, or they're exhausted, maybe they have chronic fatigue, or maybe that they just worked so hard all day to just earn money to pay their bills, we fold the laundry rather than look down upon them. A lot of people suffer that, and I just think that it's important to bring that aspect out, the compassion of Christ, and understanding that we never know what somebody's experiencing in their mind, in their eyes, in their vision, in their auditory, in all their sensory systems. They could actually have a deficit that you and I don't have. Our gifts may be in organizing, and others may not. So that's all I wanted to share.
Okay, you know, would you say though that there are some people for whom this does come out of something of a sinful behavior, you know, envy and some of the and gluttony, etc. That there can be an element that is sinful as well as some of the elements that are disordered.
Yes, but I think that just pointing a finger and saying this is sin, period, I think we have to be very careful in judging that.
Why?
because we don't know the full physical thing of what a person is dealing with. That was the beauty of Jesus. He saw the innards and what was working and not working with people. I think that you're right, that some of us, we do know when it's sinful and when there's a problem maybe with hoarding and buying things we really don't need and not sharing with a neighbor. But I think that we can't just limit it to that when we express that as good Catholics and trying to express the love of Jesus Christ in our world.
Actually, I think I agree with you very much, Angie. I don't think that having a cluttered house is necessarily a sign of sin. And I say that outright in the book. But I think it can, why you have clutter and looking at why you have clutter can help to point you towards some places where you do have sin in your own life. And I really don't think that anyone should go in to fix someone's clutter without an invitation. That's not necessarily a good thing to do for someone. If someone invites you in to help them, I think then that's when you step up and you help out. But to go into someone's house and judge them because it's not as tidy as you would have your house, I like to have guests, but I don't know that I want that person to come to my house.
And I think too that there's some things that we have to pay attention to the whole person, as Angie is saying, because we're dealing with a certain abstraction here. We're not talking about, I went to that guy's house and I saw it and that was, no. We're talking, first of all, we're talking about ourselves. Your difficulty with clutter, I have my difficulties with clutter, and I don't even pin that on, psychological disorder. Maybe somebody else would, but, the clutter is because, misappropriating time at times. And there is a sense of not carving out time to do certain things. And believe me, no one's walking in my house to be folding my laundry.
I think
And so, not whether I invite them or not, that's just not going to happen. I got to empty the dishwasher and fold my own laundry. That's life.
I think clutter is one of those cases where dealing with the log in your own eye before seeking the speck in your neighbor's eye is a really good choice for everybody. Look at your own situation. You know your situation. If you need help, you can ask for it. And as neighbors to the people in our community, we need to be willing to offer help when we're asked.
Yeah, sure. And it's, and I think it's useful to highlight this issue in a world that has overmuch, in a culture, not the whole world, but in a culture that has overmuch. It's well worthwhile bringing that up as a topic for us all to examine our own consciousness. I agree with you. I have no interest in blaming anybody else, because if I point fingers at somebody, I got at least 3 more pointing back at me, and because my own clutter. But it is an area that is worth bringing up as an examination of conscience, which is the way you speak about it in your book. We have a question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
I'm from Warren, Pennsylvania, Father
Good
Mitch.
for you. Welcome. And your question?
Well, I know you guys have been giving us some very insightful and valuable information about decluttering. I'm hoping you'll be able to give us some helpful hints on decluttering our mind with all of the useless information that we have a tendency to load ourselves up with, and the pressures that we put on ourselves to meet demands and things like that.
Yeah, see, now you're old enough too, I think, to remember even Mick Jagger sang against useless information. One of his old songs, a long time ago. But yeah, there is a lot of useless information, and it is very, very easy to allow ourselves to get so hyped up when we're watching even the news programs, because the news industry has become divided on ideological lines, and folks on the different ideological sides work to get our minds all hyped up over the other side, and how bad they are. And a lot of useless information and nonsense gets spoken. How would you address this issue of the cluttered mind?
Well, I think about it in terms of the way we declutter our things. Gather up all of those things that are preying on your mind. And I actually just did this not 2 weeks ago. I was feeling very overwhelmed, and like a lot of concerns were preying on my mind and a lot of things that I had to do. Mm-hmm. And so I sat down with a sheet of paper and I just started to list them. Here are all the things that are weighing on me and that I need to balance and take care of. And I just started listing things, one after another. And I filled the sheet of paper. It was overwhelming. And then I started looking and saying, what do I need to do? What are the needs and what are the extras? Just like you would do if you had a pile of t-shirts sitting in front of you. What do I use? What do I need? What are my things that are critically important right now? And what do I put aside? Just like I would sort through the clothes, don't wear this anymore, don't wear this anymore. You know, don't need this anymore. I don't need this worry. I don't need to be concerned about, you know, to watch this show, to read this magazine, to visit this website. I can let those go to the side. I do need to attend to this and to that. And I need to look at this, I need to read this book because this is something that I want to read and want to learn about and want to grow in. I need to go to this talk. I need to listen to this lecture or watch this movie because it's going to do something for me that I need to do right now. And to let the other things go to the side. And I literally had to write things down and look at it on a piece of paper and start removing things. Because that's what you would do with physical stuff. You put it all in a pile and start sorting it. Well, you can't take stuff out of your brain and sort, you know, we don't have pensieves like in Harry Potter. We can take things out of our brains and sort them. So I did the best thing I could do, just information dumped on a piece of paper.
And you know, I think a third factor is not only what needs to be done versus what is not necessary, but also what is it I can actually do. There are a lot of things that need to be done that are beyond my ken. You know, I don't have any capacity at all to handle some things, stopping tornadoes. Can't do it. I might worry about being prepared for a tornado, but can't worry about trying to stop them. So we have to also include that. Some things are way beyond my ability, and that's fine too. I have to know what I can do and take the risks that are involved.
One of the most comforting things in the world is God is God and I am not. And that is a very comforting thing to remember.
Yes. Let's now go to John. John, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Minnesota.
Great, welcome. And your question?
I really like what Mary Elizabeth is saying, but this is where my struggle comes in. I love EWTN religious catalog. I'm buying stuff all the time. So I'm wondering how many religious items are too many religious items, and how do you stop that? You know, it's just like, because, you know, they're showing these things on television, and you're like, oh, I love that. I said, maybe somebody like that. And so then you buy that, and then all of a sudden, when does it become too much with religious items?
Yeah, okay.
Does it help you to pray? Does it keep your mind focused on God? Or does it just sit in a corner and occasionally you glance at it? If it's helping you to pray, if it's helping you draw closer to God, then it has a value. The challenge always with religious items is when you decide it can go, how do you let it out of your possession?
Yes.
And there are lots of places people would love to have them who don't have them. When my mother passed away this summer, we found a large collection of religious medals that were in her possession, in the attic actually. They had probably been her mother's. And there's quite a box. We couldn't throw them away because it would never occur to me to throw away a religious object. But I've been listening and talking to people, and it turns out one of my new colleagues loves old religious medals. So I'm going to bring my mother's medals to her, and she's going to pick some, and then I'll have had the medal, but I'll pass it on to someone who will value it. And you may have someone like that in your life. And to find a new home for them. And if it's become a real problem for you, if you're acquiring things that don't help you to pray, then you may have to stop, and you may have to work on that as a point of growth and conversion, and avoid the near occasion of sin, and don't open the catalog every day. Maybe give yourself one day a month you're allowed to look at the catalog, and limit your purchases. You know, create a boundary around it like you would for any other sin.
One of the things I did all the time when I was going to the Holy Land was buy from street vendors, buying rosaries and all sorts of things, because I know these guys, for one thing. I've been going there since '82. I've known some of them since they were teen. Like one guy I know since he was 14 years old. I've done stuff with him. He's bought and sold to my groups, and I bring them here. But I always use those. I can't sell them because I had them. I blessed them at the holy places in Bethlehem, etc. So I always keep a few in my briefcase when I'm traveling, because it's fairly often that people will ask me about a rosary, and I'll be able to give it to them and tell them this is from the Holy Land. And I met one of the guys who sang with the Temptations, another group from the 60s, for those of us old enough to remember. And he and his son picked him up at the airport. We've been sitting next to each other in the plane. And I was telling him, I just got back from the Holy Land, had these rosaries. Would you like one? And then his son said, oh, do you have an extra? I said, sure. So I'm happy. This is one of the things you can do, because exactly as you said, Mary Elizabeth, if you have so many religious objects, but you don't find them inspiring your devotion, this is not something that you use in your prayer, then you may want to say, maybe I need to give this to somebody who needs it far more than I do. That's a good thing to do with them.
And I always find the right person who needs something.
Yeah.
It never fails.
That's right. We have another caller. Hello, Louise?
Yes, hi.
Hi, where are you from?
Connecticut.
Great.
I sympathize. I can't, I don't know what to do with religious, well, not only religious, but religious magazines, and I'm a lector. I collect, we have a new book every year. The Give Us This Day, I get this something like Magnificat. I have another daily, all kinds of little daily books, and they pile up, and then Lenten books and Advent books, and I pile them up, and what do I do with all these? I just can't get rid of them, but is there a place? I mean, it's hard to even give it to prison ministry because they're fussy, they have their own stuff. Veterans hospitals, it's like they're germaphobes or something. You can't give that. It's like, what do you do with this?
Good question, Louise, because you can't just throw holy things in the garbage. Yeah, that's one of the issues. Things that are sacred, you just don't throw in the trash. It's not trash. How do you deal with it?
A great thing to say during Lent. Come little more than 40 days from now, we'll celebrate the Easter Vigil. And the Easter Vigil begins with a fire. And that fire, you can feed many things into that fire. Why not, instead of crumpling up old newspaper to start the fire at your parish, invite people to bring some of these things?
Because one of the proper ways to dispose of religious goods is to burn them if they are burnable, if they're flammable.
Exactly.
That's another way to get rid of them, is to bury them.
And one of the things that I've done is to bury things with my religious books with my parents. Prayer books, missals that won't burn because they've got leather covers or whatever. To bury them, place them at the foot of the coffin before you bury someone. I am so hoping that someone will think to bury one of my Bibles with me, because I can think of nothing I would like better than as I return to dust, for the Word of God to turn to dust and mingle with what's left of my earthly body.
Sure.
I can think of nothing I would like better.
And take notes out there. But the other thing too, prison ministries. The folks I work with in prison ministry talk about how the inmates love Magnificats, even old ones, because a lot of the readings are the same, and they love the readings. Not only the scripture passages for Mass, but also the stories of saints and stuff. They find that very encouraging. That is a great place to distribute those. And you can also use that not for trash, but you can recycle a lot of things, so that they're just reused, and they're not trash, they're not garbage, but they are destroyed in another way so that they can be reused for paper, and that's also good for the environment. All right, let's have another caller. Hello, Jean.
Oh, good evening, Father.
Good evening. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Miami, Florida.
Wonderful. And though we're going to keep everybody in prayer, I know that's about 50 miles north where that terrible shooting happened, but we want to keep all of you.
I texted my whole family, and we are
praying
with them with their suffering, and
absolutely
and praying to God for them all.
Absolutely. So, but you're down there in Florida. What can we do for you today?
I want, first of all, to compliment you on your program, which I enjoy always.
Thank you.
And that's a very, I'm a lifelong Catholic, and I'm always learning when I listen to your program. But I have a special thank you to your guest this evening, because I didn't really know what my problem was, because I'm one of those gatherers. But I didn't realize it was sloth, one of the 7 deadly sins. But really, I think why it's deadly is that, I'm so busy taking care of my stuff. There's no room for, in your life, for doing God's work, which is what we have to do. And when you have to take care of an 84-year-old woman at myself, that's a big part of the day. But I like to share my life and the blessings God has given me with my family and everyone. And I am blessed. But I thank you for a new approach to ridding the 40 days of the 40 bags. Maybe I could try that.
That's a cool idea.
God bless your effort. I hope you're successful and you come to Easter with a lighter heart and a lighter house.
Yeah, that's great. It's nice to hear that something that you wrote is helping somebody in such a concrete way, and that's what the purpose of your book is, to help us do that examination of our own consciences, to see. I think you're right. Angie had a good question. I was trying to understand her concern with my questions, but it's very important to see the goal is not to point out somebody else's sin, but to examine our own conscience with also that kind of indifference, that if I'm doing something that's not helpful to giving glory to God, I want to change. That's what Lent is for. That's why we give up stuff.
And it's hard. It's humbling and embarrassing to sit in the middle of your living room and realize that the entire floor is covered with your clothes and you don't remember buying 2/3 of it. Yeah. It's scary and it's embarrassing. It was embarrassing to write this book. And I'm like, I have to be honest. I have to tell people how bad this was. And it's embarrassing to have to look at yourself and say, wow, I screwed up.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, people out there don't have to write about it and talk about it on television.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
And the work of conversion is hard work.
But it's a good work. It's a good thing to do. And that's what our Lord starts off the whole gospel: repent and believe. And that's what we're here to do. I want to again give you, the website is MaryElizabethSperry.com, and the book is Making Room for God, Decluttering, and the Spiritual Life at EWTNRC.com or 1-800-854-6316. You can buy this book and then declutter. All right, may the Lord bless you all and keep you and cause His face to shine upon you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And remember, this network is brought to you by you, nobody else, no commercials. We depend on your generosity, so keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill, and we will be able to pay our bills too. God bless.